everyone, and welcome to another round of 12 News Weekend. I'm Kariba Devine. Here at 12 News, we strive to bring you the very best journalism in the Valley. That is why each week we'll rewind the tape to show you some of our very best stories. Some will make you laugh, some will make you cry, and some will just make you feel good. This is 12 News Weekend. Well, people have probably forgotten all about the monsoon. Our record heat comes on the final day of monsoon season. And as you know, it's been very dry across the state. In fact, one of the top 10 worst monsoons ever. 12 News journalist William Pitts explains what happened and why fall just will not arrive.
There are some places across the valley, not many, but there are some that did get a lot of rain in the last few months. But for the most part, this monsoon has sucked. Fall in the valley. The crunching underfoot, the leafless trees, the 115 degrees. Yeah, those leaves aren't turning, they're burning.
We were hoping we wouldn't see those extreme conditions this year, and here we are talking about the extreme heat, and we're breaking records from last year.
The National Weather Service says this is officially the hottest year on record after the last hottest year on record, which was last year. And since monsoon is now over, it's also tied for the 7th driest monsoon ever.
We're looking for a certain placement of a high pressure mainly off to our northeast, and that allows flow of moisture in from the Gulf.
And that never really happened. So to recap, we've had a handful of storms, and it's been hotter than literally any other time. I know my yard is a little rough. These plants held on as long as they can, but it's 112 degrees in October. It's really not our fault. That also means,
come on in.
You can't do much about it. These plants should be outside at Whitfield Nursery.
They'll be ready for November now. We'll have to cut them back.
Instead, they're in the greenhouse, trying to survive, even as people ask for them.
Really wanting to buy a lot of geraniums and things. And, we're telling them, hey, it's not time yet. It's going to be 105 the 1st of October. We didn't plan on 115.
Well, we're going to put shade all the way across this whole centerpiece right here.
This one will be done in a day or so. Not even palm trees are immune.
So that one's burnt a little bit from being in the sun. Now, that normally wouldn't happen this time of year.
The good news is it can't be this hot forever. Eventually, it has to cool down, and we can get back to being the envy of every snowy state in the country. Just not yet. William Pitts, 12 News.
Fall is officially here, even though the temperatures definitely do not feel like it.
No. On this Money Saving Monday, 12 News journalist Tricia Hendricks joins us with some of the ways that you can have fun without spending a lot this fall.
Whether you plan to celebrate fall and all it has to offer in the cooler areas of State 48, sounds nice, right? Or right here in the desert, there are plenty of ways to have fun in the fall for little to no cost.
It's so nice to be out on the farm in the fall, especially right now. We're getting the teas of the early mornings, and it's just going to start getting crisp.
Sometimes it's worth forking out the dough for a cool experience, especially if it's a once-a-year or seasonal festivity. But of course, we want to save money anywhere we can, and that includes on what we plan to spend on fall fun.
What better way to spend your day than out here in agriculture?
Christy Davis with the Arizona Urban Agriculture Foundation says Agritopia Farms in the East Valley is a great place to start.
Farm nights, second Wednesday of every month from September until May. In October, we're going to have a mocktail class that's taught by our beekeeper, who's actually a bartender here at the farm. So it's probably going to have some honey in it.
Fall is my favorite season.
Zoe Schursel with Visit Mesa discovered a list of fall deals to be had.
We're Tusio Farms, which is the longest running corn maze in Arizona. Their tickets are $16. But if you bring in a non-perishable food item, you can get $2 off their tickets.
Celebrate Mesa Day is also coming up. The free family event will be complete with face painting and a petting zoo.
And it's perfect for kids and families.
And don't forget about the annual Dia de los Muertos Festival at Mesa Arts Center. It's another event you can enjoy at no cost, honoring the rich traditions of Latin American culture tied to the Mexican holiday, Day of the Dead.
Free family fun activities.
That's what many of the outdoor shopping areas around the valley have been planning for months, including Desert Ridge Marketplace in Phoenix, where they're getting ready for their annual pumpkin patch.
We also offer free pumpkin painting inside the patch.
Katie Hopman says this is a must-stop for fall.
I do have a 2.5-year-old, so it makes the fall season so
so fun.
Got a sweet tooth? They have a creepy candy crawl too.
There will be no candy shortages here.
And if you're looking to get out of town, Josh Coddington with the Arizona Office of Tourism says you should head to one of our state or regional parks, like Alamo Lake State Park Star Party in western Arizona.
Its remoteness is also its superpower because it means it's far away from light and great for stargazing.
Or you can head south to Kartchner Caverns State Park.
They do a bat fest. They bring in people who talk about bats, about what they eat, how they use echolocation. It's included with your park admission to Kartchner Caverns State Park, which is only $7 per carload.
I want to do that.
To get more information on more than 40 haunted and spooky attractions across Arizona, you can visit the Spooktacular Arizona Digital Passport. It's a free download on the Arizona Office of Tourism website.
And early voting is just 1 week away. You can expect, rather, to see a lot of political ads on TV and social media. Many of those ads tend to focus less on promoting a candidate and policy and more about tearing down their opponent. 12 News journalist William Pitts answers whether or not those ads really work.
Wrong for Arizona.
Carrie Lake's not conservative. She's nuts.
Pretty much every commercial break,
border chaos is causing crime.
There's an ad telling you how terrible someone is.
Force you into government-run socialized medicine.
Then join Democrats in sending our taxes to fund illegal migrants.
How common are negative ads? We took the hit so you don't have to and watched a full hour of TV just to count and watch the political ads. Here's what we found. There were 39 total commercials. Of those, 14 were negative, 22 were not about politics, and only 3 were positive ads. By positive, we mean they don't criticize their opponent. So it's not just you. There are a ton of negative ads right now.
Once that first negative ad has been launched, then it sort of becomes an all-out war.
So do negative ads work? Samara Klar is a political science professor at U of A.
It's a really hard question to answer, because if you ask people, do you like negative ads? They will say, no, we hate them. Nobody likes negative ads. But obviously there has to be something there, because they do keep using them. We know that there are some things that can be pretty effective. And one of those things is, instilling a fear or threat or anxiety in voters.
Where did this come from? Klar says we just got used to the lack of civility in politics.
When you ask people, how do you feel about your own party and how do you feel about the other party, over time, and this has gone on for decades, people increasingly say they really do not like the other party, the party they don't vote for.
But Klar says they don't hate the people who vote that way, just the candidates and the party. So will there ever be any end to this?
Americans really hate political aggression, hostility, and fighting. And to me, one of the best pieces of evidence is the declining percentage of Americans who will identify with a party.
In Arizona, independents are now the second biggest voter registration. But even so, the negative ads keep on coming. William Pitts, 12 News.
Joining me now for the backstory on this particular topic is 12 News journalist William Pitts. So, Will, let's talk about campaign ad fatigue. We have 34 days to go. That's a lot of ads. Is that going to turn voters off at any point?
I got a lot of fatigue just sitting there watching it for an hour. Some of these breaks I actually watched, there was one ad that was not political in one of these breaks.
Insane.
It was just 7 straight minutes of negativity. I don't think it's going to make anybody not vote.
Sure.
But it's going to be a rough month.
Right, and it already has been. It seems like we just get inundated with these. So did the professor have any additional insight as to the number and the amount of ads that we're seeing? We know we're going to get negative ads, but the number of them seems to grow every election.
We're going to get a lot of them. One interesting thing she said was she doesn't really know how it affects the race necessarily, because everybody always claims, I'm going to run a clean race, I'm not going to go negative, and that lasts until somebody does. No one's ever not gone negative after that. So she doesn't really know what happens to a race if you stay positive while the other guy goes negative, because it doesn't happen.
Well, and I think, as we all agreed in the newsroom, it was nice to see a clean debate last night about policy instead of the mudslinging that we've seen. So maybe we'll see that trend in the next election cycle.
We got enough mudslinging in the commercial breaks.
Yes, we do. We don't need any more of it. Will, with the backstory, thank you so much. Troy?
Devastation left after Hurricane Helene shows just how strong storms can get during this time of year.
Yeah, this morning on Today in AZ, 12 News meteorologist Ginger Jeffrey spoke to an expert about the factors that cause such powerful storms.
Hurricane season doesn't officially end until November 30th, but right now we're seeing some of the strongest storms of the season. Joining me to discuss why we see this tropical development is distinguished professor of geography, Dr. Erica Smithwick. Dr. Erica, thanks for joining me this morning.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, well, Helene, among one of the deadliest storms to hit the mainland and certainly one of the largest. So why do we so often see some of the largest storms so far at the end of the season?
Yeah, well, we tend to think of the summer as the hottest season, right? Because we're feeling the air temperature, which tends to be the hottest in July and August. But water heats more slowly than air, and so the hottest temperatures in the ocean are actually in September. And that's why we have our hurricane season extending far into November, like you said.
You know, and during the middle of summer, there's so much Saharan dust that was really hampering that hurricane development. So was that normal this year?
What we've also been seeing is that there's actually been a decline in the wind shear as well. So we haven't, the wind shear that would normally break down these storms just hasn't been happening. And so that's also contributing to that hurricane development. And, you know, there's two things that we have to be paying attention to. It's the warm waters and it's wind. And if both of those factors are in play, we tend to see storms develop. And this year, the temperature anomaly in the Gulf was about trending 20% higher than normal. And so we're really seeing bathtub-like hot water, and then we're not having that wind shear to stop the storm development.
You know, we focus so much on the wind speed of the hurricane. Obviously, that's how they're categorized. But the wind isn't the most dangerous element of a hurricane. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously what we're seeing in the Carolinas right now is the immense flooding that's occurring from the storms that can extend before and well after the eye of the storm has passed. And so those intense rainfall events, especially in areas with steep inclines and high elevation, like in the Carolinas, can cause that massive destruction that we're seeing. And you also can have other extreme events like tornadoes that form along the edges of these storms. And unfortunately, we do have some reports of that as well.
Yeah, you know, the flooding, that nonstop rain in an already saturated area, you know, the devastation has been heartbreaking to watch. But do we see an impact from a storm of this magnitude elsewhere outside of the communities that we're actually seeing the rainfall and the flooding?
Yeah, well, you're obviously going to be seeing the massive size of the storm was really unnatural. I study natural disasters, and I can tell you that the size and scope of this storm was really unnatural. So it's spreading out for miles and miles from the actual eye of the storm. And so it can affect communities that are living far, far away. I live in Pennsylvania, and I'm seeing the effects of the storm right now.
All right, and before we let you go, I know you're a member of Science Moms. As a daughter of a scientist, can you tell me what Science Moms is all about?
Yeah, well, we're a group of climate scientists who also happen to be moms, and we really feel like there's an opportunity to give information to other moms and help promote a more healthy future for our kids. Listen, we have the opportunity to really address some of these climate challenges, and we want to make sure everybody's equipped with that information. So we're doing our part to get out there and help other people learn more about what they can do to help support climate action in their communities and their homes.
7 months after her husband passed away, Mary Haney was shocked to learn that she had died too.
It knocks me off my feet, I'll tell you that right now.
The 88-year-old is healthy and warm to the touch, but according to the government, she's dead.
Yes, there's been jokes made about it, but on the serious end of it, it has really taken a toll.
Someone at the Social Security Administration made a mistake. Mary's daughter, Karen, says it was first discovered 2 years ago when her mom needed to change the address on her driver's license.
They told us she was dead and that we needed to go to Social Security and get the records corrected.
So they went to the Social Security office in Glendale to prove Mary was still breathing and got a letter for the Motor Vehicle Division. Mary Haney visited our office today and her identity was verified. She is alive.
Then we went back to motor vehicle and waited in those lines and all of that to be told that the letter didn't have a certified stamp on it from Social Security. Had to go back to Social Security that same day, wait in all those lines.
After the long day, Mary got her driver's license updated and Social Security told her the error in their system was fixed, but it wasn't. More than a year later, Mary's tax return was rejected by the IRS because she was dead.
The nightmare is starting all over.
Mary had to visit the IRS office in Phoenix.
When we sat down at his desk, he says, you know, I told my wife that I had the opportunity today to resurrect somebody from the dead.
The IRS agent also said Mary needed to go back to Social Security to get the error fixed again.
We went through some really bad heat days here, and she's 88 years old.
They also learned that Mary's Medicare premium was no longer being covered by ACCESS, the Arizona healthcare cost containment system. Instead, the $174 was coming out of her Social Security check, which Mary was still getting each month.
So everybody's telling us she's dead, but yet she's still collecting Social Security. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Mary is now waiting on a letter from the IRS and a decision from ACCESS as to whether they will keep paying her Medicaid premium.
If not, we have a bigger fight on our hands.
In a statement to 12 News, the Social Security Administration says 3.1 million deaths are reported to the agency each year. Of those, approximately 10,300 are corrected. Social Security said it could not discuss any details of Mary's case, citing privacy laws. In Phoenix, Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
It is a tenet of my faith that the Constitution is divinely inspired of my most basic foundational beliefs. And so for me to do that because somebody just asked me to is foreign to my very being. I will not do it.
That is what I call guts. The willingness to lay it out there at the risk of political suicide to do the right thing. Joining us tonight are former Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who was shown the door by his own party for standing up and telling the truth. He was given the JFK well-deserved Profile and Courage Award for that moment, which is given to public officials who defend and protect democracy. And also former longtime Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon. Good to see both of you.
Good to be here.
It's good to be here.
We're talking about statesmanship and civility on the doorstep of our next election. Do you think that those are qualities of a bygone era, Rusty?
Oh, no. I mean, there are ebbs and flows in everything, but the recovery is not as pronounced as these things ebb and flow. So I understand the concern, but it just takes people to decide. I will not vote for somebody who's a jerk. You know.
It's a simple concept, Matt, but it isn't always followed.
I kind of have a no jackass policy, too, on the vote thing. But you know what? I'm with Rusty. I refuse to look down at the ground and give up. I think that, you know, America has seen some really tough days before. And I think that we're capable of great things. But we need some leaders that are going to call up and call things the way they are, speak truth to power. And that hasn't been happening a lot in today's political scene, but I'm hopeful that it will.
But here's, if you asked me today to identify those who would have the guts to do that, who would you name that could really affect meaningful change?
That's actually in office?
Yeah.
That's an unfair question.
But really, when you think about it, and I, by the way, I agree with you, but who has the guts to do that?
I've been very, very disappointed in a lot of my former colleagues back there in the U.S. House, because I know, because I've spoken to them, many of them are not happy at all with the way political discourse is going right now, and yet they're sitting on their hands, and that's not the way to be. In fact, you know, if Abraham Lincoln had done a poll, how many of you are willing to risk a war where father will fight against son and brother against brother to free the slaves? The poll would have probably come back 6% of America supports that. But Abraham Lincoln stood on solid ground and fought for what he knew was right. We've got to get back to the days where real statesmen, people that are going to put country over party, and they're going to stand up and fight for what's right. We've got to expect that.
Rusty, we hear the term a lot lately, words matter. But when you hear politicians using words like loser and calling immigrants animals and saying that some immigrants are eating dogs and cats, should politicians, do you think, be held to a higher standard when it comes to that kind of thing and spreading rumors?
Well, words do matter. And unfortunately, I guess it's unfortunate that dueling is illegal. But
it's a different kind of duel.
Yeah.
It does demonstrate a fear, an intimidation factor that should be called out. It's once you've been through the fire, though, Mark.
And you have,
by the
way.
It isn't. You look back and you think, I just did what I was supposed to. I did what people would expect me to. And I think that there would be a hefty number of Americans who would say, the guy needs, we want him back. And whether that happens to Matt or I or whomever. I mean, Mitt has certainly been around and others. But it's not bygone if we expect more. You expect more through your vote. If people want me to vote for them, and if there's enough people like me that they want or they need, then they need to look at themselves and say, we're going to make a change.
In this day and age with everyone wants to blame the media, okay, which I think is unfair because media takes on all kinds of forms. But when it comes to social media, when you can spread anything and say anything you want.
And not even have to be responsible.
Not have to be responsible for
Right.
it. And the more outrageous it is and the more viral it is and the more clicks you get, the more you're seen. That can be a positive thing and advantageous to a politician, even if it's seen to be uncivil.
So Mark, I had an opportunity to serve in the U.S. House during the 90s, during the contract with America, and then I came back 12 years later. It was like a different planet. Yeah. And I really believe that it was because of social media. When you got trolls out there and people that don't even use their real name to come after you and attack you on grounds that you never would have even imagined before, it's changed the way things are done. When I came back, so I left the first time because I took a term limit pledge. And I served 6 years, I left. The second time that I ran, 12 years later, I didn't take a term limit pledge, and I intended to stay there for many, many years. After 2 terms, I couldn't take it anymore because the civility was completely gone. There was no bipartisanship whatsoever. I mean, when I was there during the contract with America, we balanced the budget 4 years in a row in a bipartisan, a Democrat president, Bill Clinton, a Republican House and Senate. We balanced the budget 4 years in a row. That hasn't been done ever in the last 100 years. That's a once in a lifetime thing. And we got a lot of good things accomplished, but there was a lot of bipartisanship. Now, I remember when Lindsey Graham gave a hug to Dianne Feinstein on the floor, and both of them caught all kinds of grief on social media. Yeah. And that kind of stuff didn't happen back in the 90s.
I'm getting a wrap it up from our producers, but I wanted to ask you before you go, is the truth still important?
It is to a lot of people. It is to me.
It is to me.
And I think there are a lot of people for whom it is important. Some of them lost in this last go-round. People of great reputation in our own state. And it can happen in our own state where we can balance a budget because we had to do that.
Yeah, well, you told the truth and you were primaried out for telling the truth.
That's okay.
Yeah, at least you can live with yourself and look at yourself.
But being able to look yourself in the mirror is better than being reelected, isn't it, Rusty?
I think
when you don't
so.
have hair, you don't worry about
I'd like to think so. Thank you both for coming down. I think this is, I wish we had more time because this is such an important conversation to have.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, you can catch 12 News Weekend on Saturdays and Sundays on our YouTube channel and our streaming app, 12 News Plus. I'm Kadiba Devine. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.